About a dozen cars have been moved voluntarily from Wellington's blocked streets, but as soon as they rolled out, more protesters rolled in.
And as the occupation grows, political opportunists are seizing the moment. David Seymour met with protesters today, a move the Prime Minister has called irresponsible. Here's political editor Jenna Lynch.
Parliament, the people's place, has become the protesters' place. They've settled in.
We've got Wi-Fi, we've got an awesome guy that set this all up for us. People are able to charge their phones.
Despite police threats they'd tow cars, the only car towed from the vicinity of Parliament in the last few days, one of their own, a punctured tyre. About a dozen cars were moved voluntarily, but the cops have been crippled by a lack of tow trucks, now securing some from upcountry.
We have secured assistance from operators across New Zealand.
This is day 9 and protesters are still arriving. Ex-leader David Seymour reckons since the protest is changing, so must the response.
To glue this country back together when this is all over. That's why it is time for dialogue.
So he met with a bunch of them this morning during a 2-hour confessional of sorts at the Backbencher pub.
Not 100% surely listening to everyone on that, but it felt really good to get out of Rochester.
The Prime Minister admonishing him for legitimising the protest.
For a party that purports to be the champion of law and order, or indeed businesses, to meet with those who are obstructing Wellingtonians from going about their everyday lives, bullying and harassing people who are trying to go to school or work, I do think meeting with them was irresponsible.
Seymour laid down an ultimatum: move the cars, get rid of the ugly bits of the protest, and he'll come out to the forecourt for a yarn.
Blackmail, isn't it? I'll come out if you move your car. What a load of shit.
The protesters see right through it.
He needed to step up a lot sooner than he has already.
He's a slimy politician.
Seymour's adamant the extremists are no longer there, and that's why he's open to dialogue. Perhaps a lot of the protesters are peaceful, but some don't think it'll end peacefully.
They're going to have to use force to get rid of everybody, by the look of it.
And some don't want it to.
This doesn't end with the
Counterspin's Calvin Alp calling on the armed forces to stage a military coup.
The people here would be happy for you to take over the government.
Still a political leader willing to negotiate.
There are people who are very eager to push that sort of rhetoric and those sort of people out.
The Prime Minister is concerned foreign money may be funding the occupation.
I certainly couldn't rule out connection with groups offshore.
Meaning the tents and the food and the cars may just keep coming.
Well, kia ora, Jenna. Was this a desperate move by the ACT Party?
David Seymour will argue no, that he was simply answering a call from his mate Boise at the backbencher to have a conversation with these guys. But this protest really is the only show in town here at Parliament. Everyone wants to give their 2 cents, and up until now they've all been on the same page. Perhaps one of David Seymour's own voters described the desperation best today. The protester that called him a slimy politician told us that David Seymour was simply doing this because his support had halved in our poll. He'd recognised that it was his voters out there on the front lawn and that it was a, quote, desperate act trying to win them back. The Nats are trying to muscle in on this too. They will lodge a formal no confidence vote in the Speaker tomorrow, another political stunt that will ultimately fail because they don't have a majority. So politicians are now increasingly eyeing up a slice of this political protest pie.
Our political editor, Jenna Lynch, thank you.
And similar anti-mandate protests have grown in Picton and Christchurch. Despite a bylaw prohibiting camping in Cranmer Square, the number of tents has increased since Monday night. Christchurch City Council says it's aware of the disruption to neighbouring residents and says it's working with police to monitor behaviour. So far, no incidents have been reported.